with the election just 9 days out, it could all come down to a battle of the sexes. A new ABC News Ipsos poll shows that Vice President Kamala Harris has strong support from women with 56%, while former President Trump has the solid backing from male supporters with 51%. Joining us now to discuss all of this social impact and strategist and founder of Win with Black Women is Jotega Edie. Also with us is Alfonso Aguilar. He's the director of Hispanic engagement at American Principles Project and a Trump campaign surrogate. Thank you so much to both of you for being here with us. Alfonso, I'll start with you.
Good morning.
So despite each candidate trying to address and sort of make inroads with this gender disparity, poll numbers show that it's still a very tight race. What do you think are some of the challenges that Donald Trump has in winning over female voters? I mean, his strategy of saying he's the father of IVF during a town hall focus on women issues that didn't win too many voters over.
Well, I think women voters care about the same issues that most Americans. They care about high prices. Just like any other American, men, female, when they go Hispanic, African American, when they go to the supermarket, they see how prices remain very, very high. They care about the border, the impact that unregulated massive migration is having their cities and communities in terms of crime, in terms of resource taken away from citizens' jobs. So I think the president has a message that cuts across all the different constituencies. He'll continue to talk about that, but he'll also clarify that the narrative from the left, from Kamala Harris and yesterday from Michelle Obama on abortion is just false. He's not for a national ban on abortion. He's after the Supreme Court decision, it's an issue that's going to the states. Some states actually are going beyond Roe v. Wade. So he'll continue to remind them of that. Also, I think he'll continue talking about this woke trans issue because mothers care about their children. And many mothers are concerned about children in schools being taught gender ideology without parents' authorization. And also, it's an issue that it's a sleeper issue, but it's having an incredible impact. We feel comfortable. The majority of Americans today, while the polls are closed, the majority of Americans today believe that the country's in the wrong path and believe that Donald Trump would do a better job on the economy and on the border.
And Alfonso, I do want to say, when it comes to abortion, the latest polling that we've seen does still show that Americans think that Vice President has the edge on handling that issue. Jotega, I want to bring you in now. Why do you think Vice President Harris is having a challenge with male voters, specifically those younger male voters?
Well, I think that's really a narrative that's been created. I think when we actually really dive down and look at the numbers, what's the reality here is that Black men have always traditionally been right behind Black women in their support. And we are seeing a lot of support, a lot of momentum as it relates to Black men. We saw Vice President Harris's bold agenda for Black men and the reaction to that. I think that there's a lot of mis and disinformation. There are a lot of narratives as it relates to whether or not Black men are supporting Vice President Harris. And I think that is anything but truth when we talk to Black men. And I think what is most important is what's happening on the ground and what we're hearing and seeing. And what we're hearing and seeing is that people are very clear what's at stake in this election, whether or not we want to have a president that is going to lead with dignity, who is going to lead a country for all Americans, or continue with the divisive nature that Donald Trump has put forth in this nation.
But we have seen that male voters, I mean, as I laid out at the top, 51% have said that in our most recent ABC News Ipsos poll that they are backing President Trump. I know you just touched on the issue specifically with Black men, but overall, do you think that Vice President Harris has done enough to try to win over men as a whole? And do you think that the policy outlines that she has come up with for Black men, do you think that it's enough?
I certainly think that it is in the right direction. And I think Vice President Harris is making a strong case to all Americans and also Black men. I think when you look at those policies that she has put forth, they are going to directly impact the lives of Black men across this country. And in fact, all Americans, when you look at her policies overall. I think I want to also go back to the conversation around what Alfonso said about Donald Trump and abortion in this country and reproductive freedom. He is the president that put in place the Supreme Court justices who have turned Roe versus Wade into something of our past. And that is deeply alarming for all women in this country. I think it's also important in this conversation of gender is to look at white women as well. There is a growing, number of white women who are showing support for Vice President Kamala Harris. There's a lot of enthusiasm and momentum, and I think that's also going to be an important factor in this election as well.
But Joe Tega, I do want to ask you about that, and apologies for cutting you off, but we do know that there is a difference when it comes to the polling. There can be in terms of who people say that they're going to vote for and who they actually vote for when they are in the privacy of a voting booth. And we saw last time, actually, specifically with white women, I mean, the number was, they came out for President Trump, even with Hillary Clinton at the time in 2016 we're talking about. So why do you think that this time it could be different?
I think it could be different. 2 days after Win with Black Women held our very first Zoom after the announcement of the transition in the presidential election, I believe it was 4 days later, white women, there were nearly 200,000 white women who got on a call who really addressed that issue, who said that it is time for them to put in the work. It is time for them to be bold about this country. And we have seen momentum ever since. And I believe that that momentum, along with the very critical issues on the ballot, particularly reproductive freedoms and other critical issues in this country that are important, everything that Michelle Obama outlined, things that we saw Beyonce and others, women who are mothers, who care about our communities, are caring about in this election. And I think that is going to be an important driver for not only white women, Black women, but also Americans as a whole.
And Alfonso, I want to bring you back into this conversation because when it comes to Hispanic men and women, our new polling numbers show Kamala Harris is strongly leading with Hispanic men and women. Why do you think that is? And what, if anything, do you think that President Trump could do to try to win over some of those voters in the 9 days left?
Well, I think we've seen in the past years Republicans gaining ground with Hispanics. We are seeing in different polls where Donald Trump is even getting higher numbers at the national level with Hispanics. But in the battleground states, in 6 out of 7, the Hispanic vote is going to be decisive. States like Arizona, Nevada, Georgia. Trump's performance with Hispanic voters is even better. Again, Hispanics, like most Americans, care about high prices. High prices are disproportionately affecting Hispanic working families. They care about border security. Republicans have turned the table on immigration. And that's why in both issues, Hispanics believe that Trump will do a better job.
All right. Joe Tega, Edie, and Alfonso Aguilar, thank you both so much for being with us this morning to talk about all of this as we've got 9 days left before the election.